Okay, we are discussing about one of the simple example of dihydric alcohol, ethylene glycol, and we have studied methods for the preparation, then physical properties, chemical reactions, and uses of that ethylene glycol. Now let us see next point. या dihydric alcohol मध्ये आणखी next point आपण स्टडी करणार आहोत. Let us see what is mean by pinacol. पिनाकोल म्हणजे काय हे थोडंसं आपल्याला ही थोडीशी नवीन आणि इम्पॉर्टंट टर्म आहे रिगार्डिंग डायहायड्रिक अल्कोहोल. Actually, this is example of pinacol. Okay, this is example of pinacol. Now let us see what is mean by pinacol. What are the characteristic point of this compound? Yes, it is example of dihydric alcohol. It is example of dihydric alcohol means it is diol. Okay. Second property यामध्ये तुम्हाला काय दिसते आहे? Yes, it is ditertiary in nature. Ditertiary means both the OH group are tertiary in nature because that carbon atom, I will make star to that carbon is tertiary in nature. Why they are tertiary? Because this carbon is attached to the three another carbon atom. That carbons are attached to three another carbon atom, therefore they are tertiary in nature. And here OH groups are present on the tertiary carbon, therefore they are tertiary. Okay, and thus this particular compound is a tertiary in nature. Now let us see one more property. It is symmetrical. Symmetrical means suppose यामधून दोन पार्ट आपण केलं या कंपाऊंडचे, we are having same atoms or group on the both side of that point, and therefore it is symmetrical in nature. Means that compound is an example of dihydric alcohol. Means it is diol. Then both the OH are tertiary in nature, and also it is symmetrical. Now there is one more point here that two OH groups are present on the adjacent carbon, and such alcohol is called vicinal. If two OH groups are present on the neighboring carbon, then it is called vicinal, and here also this is the vicinal diol. Okay. Now, how will you define pinacol? That compound is called pinacol. It having four property. Yes, it is example of dihydric alcohol, means it is diol. First property. Second, it is a ditertiary in nature, means there are two OH group which are tertiary in nature. Then it is symmetrical, and also it is vicinal. Vicinal means two OH groups are present on the adjacent carbon atom. Now, how will you define pinacol? The ditertiary and symmetrical vicinal diols. The ditertiary and symmetrical vicinal diols are called pinacol. Let us see first how that pinacol is prepared. Here starting material is the CS3 C double bond O CS3. We are using CS3 C double bond O CS3, and this is nothing but the acetone. When that acetone is created with the magnesium amalgam, reaction is carried out in presence of benzene solvent. Okay. Now here two molecules of acetone participate in the reaction. Now that two molecule adds with the magnesium, and we get the addition product, and this is the intermediate. Now this intermediate, हा जो intermediate आहे, it undergo hydrolysis. त्याचं हायड्रॉलिसिस होतं. देर इज ऍडिशन ऑफ वॉटर. दोन वॉटरचे मॉलिक्यूल ऍड होतात. ऍडिशन कशी होते बघा. हिअर बॉन्ड बिटवीन दॅट ऑक्सिजन अँड मॅग्नेशियम अंडरगो ब्रेकिंग. हायड्रोजन ऍड्स टू ऑक्सिजन and OH group adds to magnesium. OH addition magnesium. Similarly, this bond also undergo breaking. Then hydrogen adds to that oxygen. OH group adds to magnesium. Okay. Now that magnesium and two OH group, it form magnesium hydroxide. I have written minus MgOH. Actually, this is byproduct. Now hydrogen adds to that oxygen. Therefore, it becomes OH. Here also there is OH, and we get the product. Okay, there are two OH group, and this is nothing but our pinacol. And thus we have studied what is meant by pinacol. यामध्ये पिनाकोलचं फॉर्मेशन आपण स्टडी केलेलं आहे. What is the name of compound? कंपाऊंडचं नाव काय बघा. This is the longest continuous carbon chain. Okay, parent alkane is the butane. Therefore, it is actually butane. Okay, now there are two OH group. Therefore, it is diol. That two OH groups are present on the carbon atom number 2 and 3. Hence, it is butane 2,3-diol. But there are two methyl group. One methyl group, second methyl group. They are present on carbon atom number 2 and 3. Therefore, it is 2,3-dimethyl butane 2,3-diol. Okay, this is the IUPAC name of this particular compound. 2,3-dimethyl to butane 2,3-diol. Okay, or commonly it is called pinacol. This is just about the formation of pinacol. Now let us see one important reaction, Pinacol-Pinacolone rearrangement. Now let us see first reaction. What is mean by this particular rearrangement reaction? I will take the example, same example of Pinacol. Okay, this is our 2,3-dimethyl butane 2,3-diol, or commonly this compound is called Pinacol. When this compound is treated with the acid, what happens? It undergoes some type of specific reaction. When that compound is treated with the acid, we can use hydrochloric acid, HCl or H2SO4, etc. When that pinacol is treated with the acid, what happens here? Here that hydrogen and that OH, it form H2O. म्हणजे यामधून वॉटर मॉलिक्यूल बाहेर पडतो, while this methyl group, it is shifted on the second carbon. It is shifted on the second carbon. Means there is a loss of one OH and hydrogen. यामधून एक OH आणि hydrogen बाहेर पडतो, and there is a shifting of methyl group from one carbon to another carbon, and we get the product pinacolone. हा जो product या ठिकाणी कीटोन जो तयार झालेला आहे, that ketone is called pinacolone. त्याला आपण pinacolone असं म्हणतो आहोत. Okay, and that reaction is called Pinacol-Pinacolone rearrangement. This is example of rearrangement, because in this reaction there is a migration of one group takes place from one position to another position. Here this methyl group migrates from one position to another. Therefore it is example of rearrangement reaction. When pinacol, when ditertiary vicinal diol, when a ditertiary vicinal diol is treated with the acid, undergo rearrangement with the loss of water molecule to form pinacolone, and that reaction to form corresponding ketone, and that reaction is called Pinacol-Pinacolone. आता त्या कंपाऊंडला नाव द्यायचं असेल, पिनाकोलोनला काय नाव द्याल तुम्ही बघा. दिस इज 3,3-dimethyl 2-butanone. Now let us see mechanism of this reaction. Now what is meant by mechanism? Detailed study about the reaction. How actually reactant converts into product. What are the steps involved in the reaction? How the bonds undergo breakings, and how there is a formation of new covalent bond, how the new intermediates are formed, and thus detailed study about the reaction in presence of acid. That pinacol, one of the OH group undergo protonation. Protonation means addition of H plus. We know that this OH group having a lone pair of electrons, this OH group form a bond with that hydrogen. It form a bond with that H plus ion. That means OH group undergo protonation. During that process, electron pair is completely dominated by oxygen. Hence that oxygen acquire positive charge and we get the protonated alcohol. This is the intermediate, protonated pinacol. First step, addition of H plus ion. Now let us see second step. In the second step, what happens? The bond between carbon and oxygen, this covalent bond undergo breaking, and this electron pair goes towards oxygen. This electron pair completely goes towards oxygen, and there is a loss of H2O. Now what should be the charge on carbon? Carbon acquire positive charge, and this is the new intermediate where carbon having positive charge, and this intermediate is called as carbocation. Thus, in the second step, there is a formation of carbocation. In the second step, there is a loss of water molecule to form carbocation. Okay. Now let us see next step. पुढची स्टेप यामध्ये काय आहे ते आपण बघूया. Actually, in next step, there is a shifting of methyl group takes place from one carbon to another carbon. Here, this carbon having positive charge means it is electron deficient carbon. Now, what happens here? One of the methyl group, suppose this methyl group migrates from this first carbon to second carbon. There is a migration of methyl group from one carbon to electron deficient carbon. मग हा methyl group जर इकडे जात असेल, what's about this first carbon? This first carbon now having positive charge. म्हणजे त्या कार्बनवर आता positive charge येतो. Means one carbocation converts into another. In this process, one carbocation converts into another. Now this is the third step, shifting of methyl group. यामध्ये methyl group ची shifting होते, and such type of process is called rearrangement. आपण rearrangement reaction कोणाला म्हणतोय? If there is a shifting of any group takes place from one position to another position in the same molecule, then that process is called rearrangement. There is shifting of alkyl group, there is shifting of methyl group from one position to another in the same molecule. Therefore, it is rearrangement, and this is the third step. Okay. Now let us see next step. पुढची step या ठिकाणी काय आहे? Now this bond, covalent bond undergo breaking, and this electron pair now form a bond between carbon and oxygen. Means that carbon is electron deficient, therefore the bond between oxygen and hydrogen undergo breaking, and this electron pair form a pi bond between carbon and oxygen. इथं नवीन pi bond तयार होतो आणि हा bond break होतो. मग इथून बाहेर काय पडतं? There is a loss of hydrogen, and it loses hydrogen in the form of H plus, and thus there is a formation of carbonyl group. There is a formation of carbonyl group. This is the expected product and called as pinacolone. This is example of ketone actually, and that is called as pinacolone. And thus in this reaction, that pinacol, okay, I have made a circle for that. Pinacol is converted into that pinacolone. And this is the simple mechanism of a particular reaction, Pinacol-Pinacolone rearrangement. We are just discussing about a very simple reaction regarding dihydric alcohol.